Hello and welcome to the very first edition of Judgment Day with me, Mark Kearney. And the reason why we've started doing this show is because we get a lot of post-show comments and questions for people who can't make the show. So we thought we'd just give people the opportunity to write in and ask myself questions, not just me, but anybody in the show. So we decided to start this show. But before we go into the first question, I just want to remind you all to like and subscribe. And don't forget, if you can hit that wee bell button, you'll get notifications of the first moment the show goes live. So without further ado, I'll bring in the first question, and I think the first one is from Paul Dyatt, and the question is, who would you replace Giakoumakis with? Now, I haven't got an answer on the exact player. I think I've got a type of player, and for me that's got to be a kind of strong, commanding, proper number 10. A John Hartson type, a Giakoumakis type, to be quite honest with you, somebody that can just occupy defenders. Not only that, but seeing you get somebody that's a presence, it creates space for the wingers. And Celtic have always been a team that play with fast, pacey wingers. If you go back to Jimmy Johnston, or if you go up to Paddy Roberts, and even look at Alan Thompson, we've always had a striker that can hold the ball up, look to his left, look to his right, and bring in our flair players, especially with Hatate. Hatate's very good at playing the ball to Callum McGregor, who can play the ball wide. We need somebody that can not only transition the defence to attack, but somebody that can create space for himself, even in a tight against a tight defence. And I think Giakoumakis is ideal for that. But we'll be linked with the Korean striker, Cho Gu-sung, I think his name is now. I never saw much of the World Cup, but he scored 2 goals. And these guys that scored goals in the World Cup, they come with a high price tag. And I did read Celtic have spoken to his club, but like a lot of things with Peter Lawwell, the price tag and the money offered didn't quite match. But I'm kind of hoping we can do something there. We tend to do our work after the park quite quietly, as we're doing just now with the VAR stuff. We don't tend to make a lot of stuff public knowledge unless we want it to be public knowledge, and that just could be a whisper in the newspapers. So I totally think that there's legs behind this rumour. I think Giakoumakis, I seen his link with Michelin this afternoon, but that's been rubbished by the club, by why the newspapers in Denmark just said he basically they couldn't afford them. It's just too much. I think the price tag quoted by the Scottish media is around £6 million. Can we afford that? To let him go for £6 million? I think the answer is yes, because the players we're going to be bringing in is going to be between the £2 and £4 million bracket. So we can afford to lose him for £6 million. Do I think we should be losing him for £6 million? No. So Paul's question is, who would I replace him with? And as I say, I've not got a player's name. I don't think there's anybody in the Scottish League that I could even pinpoint to say that he could do a job for Celtic. I think we need to look at a type, and I think Ange does that. He looks for a type, and I think mentally Celtic are looking for a guy who's able to cope with the pressures of Celtic. I mean, there's been many players we've brought in that just can't cope with being that figurehead of Celtic and Celtic's go-to man. And that's one thing I think Ange's good at. He signs personalities as much as he signs players, and I totally think Giakoumakis fitted that mould. He's got the arrogance you get these foreign strikers, but he can also back it up. And I'll be disappointed when the guy does leave, but I've been watching his body language, and normally when you speak about body language and how their displays have been since they've been linked away, I think it's a bit different with him. He's looked dejected. I think he's looked like he's been feeling a wee bit let down by himself and let down by the club, let down by his game time. And I think it's been a mixture of that, a new agent, and maybe just World Cup being at a certain time of the year. Celtic have got their eye on somebody else, and it's just all fell into place. So, in answer to your question, Paul, I've not got an exact player for you, mate, but I think the type, the mould is already there. We just go to replace him with somebody who fits more identical to Ange's exact plan he's got for the strikers. Now, I've always been one that says Celtic should be playing 2 up front. I don't think that's a bad thing in 2023. I think Celtic should be looking to break the mould, always break the mould. Celtic should have always been a team or a club that's created new waves and try to remould the football, reshape football. I've said this before. Back in the very early days, they were playing different formations to what the world football has seen before. They were carrying the ball forward, and they were pioneers for all this sort of stuff. And I think that Celtic should be looking to, if they can't play two up top, they should be looking to bring in a striker who's able to play that different type of football for Kyogo. Kyogo is your typical Scott McDonald, Gary Hooper, guy who can run in behind with a wee bit of clinical edge and without the clinical part sometimes, but he's a different type of striker for Giakoumakis. And I think if we can fit that mould of the strong, commanding number 10 that can bring in these wide players, bring in Hatate, bring in Callum McGregor, hold up the ball when we're up against it against European teams, and also frighten the bigger teams' defences like the way Giakoumakis does with Rangers. I think we've identified the right type of player there. And thanks for your question, Paul. Our next question coming in is from Alex Forsyth. Good question, Alex, because this is a bit topical just now. Is do we think we should be looking for a new goalkeeper? Short term, for me, the answer is no. I think Joe Hart's going to be number one this season. But I've got to say, I love Joe Hart. I think he came in at Celtic just at the right time. I think, if you remember right, when we signed Joe Hart, we hadn't got Carter Vickers over the line yet. We needed somebody who was commanding and it was able to control that defence. And Joe Hart's like a second captain to me. Well, maybe a third captain now, but Carter Vickers has emerged as a captain as well. And he holds that defence so well. And this is the thing that a lot of people miss when they're watching the games on TV. And it's no criticism of people, but he's constantly shouting, he's constantly talking to Ange, he's talking to his centre-backs, he's talking to his wide players, and he's constantly controlling that defence. He's a settling figure. And I think he's been an excellent servant for Celtic. I really hope when he does go, he carries on coaching. I think he might have that in his contract. I think he's the kind of guy who's got a game plan no matter what he does, and I hope he stays at the club. Longer term, next season, I think next season we're going to be bringing in a keeper who is slightly younger than Joe Hart. I don't think there's anything wrong with a 30-year-old goalkeeper, so the age doesn't bother me, but it's maybe a bit younger than Joe Hart, but somebody who's more capable of playing the type of football that Ange wants. And by that, I don't mean somebody who can ping the ball 30 yards and get it onto a sixpence. I mean somebody who, under pressure, can pass the ball 15, 20 yards. Now, we saw Joe Hart doing this very comfortably for the last 2 years, but there has been moments, Monday in particular, where it has looked a wee bit dodgy. I mean, let's be honest, we can't hide for that. Albeit, what's missing in that story is he pulled off an excellent save. And I said before, see when Joe Hart's getting lobbed for 30 yards and 40 yards, that isn't a Joe Hart problem, that's an Ange Postecoglou production. And by that I mean he's been told to be in a certain area of the park, certain times of the game and certain passages of play. So should he be out of position, it's because he's probably been told to stand there. And although you've probably noticed, I'm going to say this season, he's not been going out as much. I think Ange's seen an evolution there. He saw limitations and he saw that there's a potential of this 40-yarder going in. We've seen it about 5, 6, 7 times last season. Teams were trying it. John Hartson calls it a sitter for 50 yards, but I don't. I think it takes a lot of skill to beat a keeper, but we see it every season. You'll see one or two of throughout Europe, and sometimes guys like Charlie Adam can do it, so it's capable. It can happen, you know what I mean? So I think we need to buy a new keeper. I think we need to invest. I know Barkas has probably put a wee bit of heebie-jeebies in a lot of people in the Celtic support when you think about investing in a goalkeeper. Don't let that put you off. I think Celtic, there is keepers out there in the 5, 6, 7 million pound mould who have played 1 or 2 seasons in the Champions League. They've played for a Dutch team that's maybe not all that fashionable, and they've just hit the heights. Celtic are capable of bringing these guys in. They've got the money there if they want to spend it. And should we win the league this year, it's Champions League guaranteed money. So without going, it's going to go this January. Without going, I suspect might be happening in summertime. The Champions League money is coming in. There will be money there to spend on a goalkeeper. And I think when you're looking at a back line, I think your goalkeeper is just as important as your centre backs. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. I mean, when Carter Vickers was out of the team, I almost felt like Joe Hart was uncomfortable with his defensive setup, and he was hesitating to come for a cross more often than he normally does. And we can't be having that. We need somebody who's maybe a bit more tuned in to the back line, and he's maybe on the same wavelength as them all, and he trusts them all, and I think a younger keeper, maybe somebody in early 30s, maybe somebody who's maybe played a couple of seasons in the Champions League, or even just somebody who's just not a chance to break through yet. He's played that type of football. Maybe somebody in Germany, Holland, something like that, plays a lot of the ball on the deck, and I think that might be happening this summer. Alex, I think that's quite certain that Celtic are going to look at that. I think they'd be quite naive to think they can keep on going on and pushing Joe Hart as much as possible. I think he can still be a squad player. I don't think Siegrist has had much of a chance, but he's maybe not showed up as well when he's had his wee chances. So I think Joe Hart's this season, short term, he's the keeper for me. Long term, and he's addressed. That was a great question, Alex. I think the next question coming in is from Celts on the Hull. Should Celtic consider allocation tickets for Rangers fans in the next derby? Now listen, as somebody who has flown Phil to the decision to stop the Celtic fans getting the Brimham Road stand at Ibrox. I mean, I didn't miss a game at Ibrox. I was getting really lucky with the tickets, and I'll no lie, it was the best away day in the calendar. It was amazing, more so because we won a lot more latterly than we did before. But not only that, it felt like an occasion. And I'm at Celtic Park and I look over and I see that big blue stretch behind the goals right up to past the goalpost at the Lisbon Lions stand. It reminds me what this is all about. So it's a spectacle. I know it's two different types of questions. There's two different avenues in this question, sorry. And I think for me, the spectacle itself, I think, has been diluted slightly by less away fans. So for me, that's going to be brought back to the 7,500. We all know the reasons why, and I'll spell it to you in case anybody's not sure. Celtic were celebrating too much. And it was actually a Daily Record reporter that put this idea in Rangers fans' minds. I mean, they said, I'm surprised it's got this far with the Rangers fans demanding that Celtic stop celebrating at their stadium. And before you know it, it was levied to the club, and the club made it an issue. And before you know it was voted in. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Celtic fans should always be behind that goal at Ibrox, and Rangers fans should always be behind the goal at Celtic Park. Now, the safety aspect, this is something that I've been noticing. This has been happening. I mean, with last season, we had cups of juice getting flung at David Turnbull. We saw Hearts players, Hibs players, Motherwell players, Joe Hart. There was glass bottles flung on the pitch at Joe Hart's 6-yard line. I think it was aimed to cut the guy if he dived. That shows you how daft these idiots are, because if a Rangers player came in sliding in, they could have tore his leg off as well. So it's an idiotic move. But not only that, the fans are getting targeted. I mean, there's been bottles and coins and you name it. It was a bottle opener flew through at Greg Taylor on Monday there. We can't accept this as a club. I mean, I've said before, Celtic are shite bags with a lot of things, and I did see this morning that Celtic are speaking to VAR and have also issued Rangers with their complaints regarding safety issues. Now, safety, supporters safety, players' safety, and everybody's safety is up to the home team. They hire the security guards, they hire the stewards, and they hire the police. Policing within this should be self-policing within the stands. You don't need to fling a bottle. I mean, that's no anything. I would never see that in my area and not say anything about it. I just think it's a horrible, disgusting thing to do. You could hit a kid, you could hit a woman, or you could just hit anybody, to be honest with you. It's all wrong. But I think Celtic need to address this safety thing. I don't think the safety thing is down to the small numbers that Celtic have got. It's the location of the fans. They've been put in the corner. That leaves you wide open to both sides of the Rangers section. It also leaves you open to the upper tier of the big stand. I take it as a north stand. And it just leaves you wide open. Now, when you had that full main stand, Ibrox is closed over. It's like 4 houses. It's closed over on four sections, and there was a row of security guards blocking each side of the stand. So it was very difficult for people to throw objects at you. So that's the major issue. It's not the numbers, it's where they're situated. They could easily be put as in the top tier of the Brimley stand to the left-hand side, and nobody could throw it up to you. It would just be very difficult to turn around and fling a ball up to somebody without anybody seeing you and getting caught. I think they've been situated there maybe for the visual, for the spectators, for the TV cameras. I think it's foolish because even though Celtic got a small support there, it's very visible for the Celtic players. I mean, you look at Celtic Park, the Rangers fans are behind a pillar, and you can hardly see them. And even when you're at the game, you find it hard to pinpoint where they are at times, and they're just so small in number compared to Ibrox. There's 58,000 Celtic fans and 500 Rangers fans or whatever, and only 49,000 Rangers fans and like 1,000 Celtic fans. So the numbers just don't add up. But it's just, I think they could either relocate the Celtic fans for their own safety. But I think in terms of the numbers, I think it's got to stay the way it is. Just now until they agree to let Celtic fans back into Ibrox, because I think there's a willingness. I think Celtic are willing to have conversations here and let the Rangers fans back into Ibrox, but Rangers aren't willing to let us. And I think it was their ultras section. They were situated in that stand. They were getting moved every home match against Celtic. And as an ultra supporter, you just can't handle that. You just can't stand it. The fact that a Celtic fan's got to be sitting in your seat and sticking Celtic stickers to the back of your chair, And I don't blame them for wanting to move. But if I think for the spectacle, the occasion, I think for the home and away support, it's got to be brought back. And I think for players and fans' safety, I think both clubs need to come together and seriously look at their stewarding policies, their stewarding numbers, and also have proper conversations with the policing, because next game it could be somebody losing an eye. And it sounds like something dramatic, but a young guy got hit in the head yesterday with a bottle, or Monday with a bottle. That could easily scar that guy for life. It could easily hurt his eye, take his eye out. It could really cause a guy disfigurement and really affect the rest of his life. It's a horrible thing to say, but and just quickly on that, I mean, there was a minute's silence for the Rangers fans who died in 1972, I think it was. It's a tragic accident, really horrible, and they should be remembered every single year, and God bless every single one of them. But I don't think you can be disgusted at the Rangers support, at the fans, at Celtic fans making noises during that minute's silence to remember people who were trampled on and unfortunately were crushed in an accident, and 5 minutes later sing Stamp on the Heads of Glasgow Celtic. It doesn't add up. You can't be disgusted with one thing and be joyous in another. So that's just my closing statement on that. What I thank you all for listening. This is the very first show. Keep on sending in your comments, your questions. Let us know how you like the show, anything you wanted to change, or just anything at all. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you don't do that, I'll climb in your house and defrost your freezers. You take care, guys, and thanks for watching.